Okay. We want to summarize why the harms on ours, which opposition has brought to you and will continue to bring like substantial, massively outweigh the small effectivization claims on opposition side. I'm going to talk about corporate culture and how this will have long-term effects on the kids that in the system. Secondly, I want to talk about how this disproportionately punishes minorities, not just through the stratification that they haven't acknowledged, not just through the when it comes to people coming from poor neighborhoods, but also minorities that are forming, as in identity minorities, and the process of that happening in school and how this will inhibit that to a detrimental degree. And thirdly, I'm going to talk about what will happen under their model to society in general and to the family aspect of this. And before that, a quick amount of rebuttal. What we're saying on opposition side is that yes, you can measure certain things, but we're saying that the instrument is blunt. Secondly, we believe that the type of things you measure, the type of things you call intelligence, is the type that fits into the school system. We believe that people can be intelligent in several different ways and still be at a disadvantage in the school system. What you're doing on opposition side is saying that people who are by the system considered less intelligent or having less potential or not up to speed will be segregated and put a stigma on because they'll be put in the dumb class. We think there are massive problems with that, but coming to quite substantial. When second government comes up and says it's good to put them in these easier classes to build up their confidence, our entire point is that putting them in that class puts the stigma on them, and that stigma erodes confidence. There's a stereotype that women are bad at math. If you tell women who are about to take a math test, remind them of this sort of stereotype, they consistently perform worse at said test than if you don't.
Sure.
If you tell people every day, because they go to school, that you're in the dumb class, they're going to perform worse. This is what we're saying. Thank you.
So.
Lastly, on your side, you're saying that look at the major harms in the system today. We're not giving enough attention to the top and the bottom. We've already said on our side that if the problem is the amount of teachers in schools, get more teachers, put more money in schools, have smaller classes. We're all for that. What you're saying that even if we do that, there'll still be a bigger divide than if you separate. What we're saying is that the small effective gains you're talking about don't come close to measuring up to the massive harms. So going into the first one when it comes to corporate culture. Because what will happen? When corporations hire a new employee, they look at grades. But under this system, if you're put in, like at a young age, if you're good, you're put in the fast lane, or if your parents have the money to give you tutors, you're put in the fast lane. This will have a build-up effect, right? You start off in the advanced math class in 3rd grade, that puts you in a math class in 4th grade, up to university level, and then when you go out, you'll be at a much greater sense of, you will have I don't want to use the word privilege, but you will have a privilege in this process. And we believe that you will be at a massive advantage. But even if two people come to a corporation with the same grades, and they look at the grades because of the signal in that. They don't know how good they will be, so they look at the grades instead. Even if they have the same grades, what will they then look at? They will go back further in time and see, well, were they in the special classes? Were they in the smart schools? Were they this kind of people? And we see that in societies that have a lot of street process. We see that the importance is placed on how they perform in the early years, even though that has little to no sort of information on how they are at this point. Yes.
I call bullshit. Even if we talk about higher education or hiring, you usually have tests that test you for a specific subject or a profession, or if you go into a company, you have constructive interviews and such. Nobody looks at your primary school grades. There are other methods that also use the assessment of different aspects.
What we're saying here is that when you look at somebody coming at an interview, for example, you want to have something substantial. If they're equal on a certain level, you'll go down to the level below and look at that. It is not uncommon, for example, in the West, that if you go to a bank, they'll even ask for your high school grades. For example, if you're in the first year of university looking for an internship. This is not uncommon at all. So, how does this then harm the schooling process? We talked about horizontal learning, right? If there are different types of intelligence, maybe you want them to intermingle, not just promote the type of cerebral, abstract, sort of right-brained, mathematical type of thinking, but also the type of creative intelligence that is exhibited in other ways. We want these people to interact because we think that students can learn from each other. They completely ignore that fact and think that it's better if we put everyone who thinks in the abstract ways that works in schools to put them all together so they have less interaction with those who have perhaps intelligent ways that are not benefited in school. No, thank you. But what we're saying is this is specifically bad for those who have certain identities that are non-conformist. Like, take if I'm in society that has a certain idea of how I should be, like who I should be sexually attracted to, or what type of music I should listen to, or whatever. When I develop my identity, I might conform to this, but I might also develop an identity that's different from this. Usually what happens then is that there is a clash. I will clash and rebel. Not always, but often, because I'm different. That has an effect on grades. What they're doing is they're taking this clash on people's identity development and making it permanent by by giving it an effect as to where they'll end up later in life. Like saying, we'll take you out of the smart class because of your grades, and I'll put you in the dumb class, and then put you in the lower leg. And we're saying that this is a problematic as well. Lastly, what then happens to society? Like, what will happen to the society at whole? When we start giving even more benefits to this sort of abstract way of intelligence, to the way that conforms very well to school, well, when we're giving them more premiums in society, giving them a better way to access the good jobs and money, whatever, we put more pressure on people to be that kind of abstract, intelligent, conformist person. Parents will put more pressures on kids to perform better early on and put pressure to be more in a conformist way that will give them good grades. We think that's highly detrimental to society. First of all, because it's very authoritarian in its way, and that's why it's very popular in authoritarian Asian countries to have this. But secondly, we also think it's bad for the kids to be put in that sort of stressful environment. Maybe we should say it's okay that they're not in a completely competitive environment all the time, but instead learn that it's okay that I don't know, for example, certain abstract forms of algebra at age 8 and instead figure it out at age 12. We believe that under their model, they impose all these harms, and the only benefit they can come up with is, well, we have slightly more cohesion in the education system, which makes the teacher's job slightly easier. We believe they have to have better motivations than that, and that's why we oppose. Thank you.